Good evening. My name is David Cashman from SEB Housing, and this is the lottery for the affordable units at the Finn Building in Quincy. Tonight is July 7th at 6 p.m. Let me start by giving a little bit of background information about how many people applied for this lottery and how we're going to go about performing the lottery, and then what the steps will be after the lottery. So in total, we had 45 completed applications from eligible households for this lottery. So there will be 45 households entered into the lottery. As you probably read during when you looked at the informational materials when you were applying, there is a local preference for half of the units, all of them one bedrooms. So households who qualify for local preference will get priority for 11 of the units. In total, there were 10 households who qualified for local preference, meaning they live in Quincy, work in Quincy, or have kids attending the Quincy schools. When I do the lottery drawing in a few minutes here, we have to do two separate drawings. We have to do a drawing for the 10 households who qualified for local preference. I'll do that one first. I will put all the applicants' lottery application numbers, which are on note cards, into a box. I will then pull them out one by one. I'll hold the numbers up to the screen as I go so you can see them, and I'll call them out. And then once I've done the 10 local preference households, I will then add those households to the other 35 households. So then I will do one big drawing that has all 45 households. I know that may seem a little redundant, but that's the way we're required to do it. So there will be two separate drawings. First, the local preference drawing with 10 households, followed by the general lottery drawing, which will have all 45 households who were eligible for the lottery. Now, so for both of those, I'll pull the numbers out. I'll put them up hold them up to the screen so you can see. And then tonight, once we've concluded the lottery and once we finish up this video, I will then sort the results to create the waiting list. When we do the lottery drawing, we mix in households who applied for studio units with households who applied for one-bedroom units, and also with households who needed the features of the disabled accessible one-bedroom unit with households who don't. And so I have to just do a little bit of sorting to put everyone in their proper spot on the waiting list. I will then send you the waiting list this evening. If you have email, you can check your email within probably an hour or so after the lottery, and you will have an email from SEB Housing that has some informational materials attached to it, including the waiting list. The waiting list will be populated top to bottom in the order that households will get to move forward. And the waiting list will just contain your lottery application number. They won't have your names or anything like that. So if you recall, your lottery application number is going to be in the form of A. blank, blank, blank. The first household who submitted a 100% complete lottery application to us is going to be A.001, and the last household will be A.045. That doesn't have any bearing on where they are on the waiting list. That's just when they submitted their lottery applications to us. But so I'll send you the waiting list, and you just have to find where you are. Find your lottery application number, and then you'll see, okay, you know, I'm in the 10th position on this list, or I'm in the 5th position on that list, etc., etc. There will be 4 different waiting lists, okay, 4 different waiting lists. Let me tell you what those are. And again, you don't have to write this down or memorize it. When I send you the waiting list tonight after the lottery, I'm also going to send you some informational materials of the type that we're talking about right now. So if you forgot anything or you wanted to review anything, it'll all be in a document that I'm going to send to you. So you can kind of say, okay, right, there were 45 households in the lottery. There are 4 waiting lists. Here are how many units are on each list, etc. So don't worry if you're not catching all of this. But there will be 4 waiting lists, okay? If you recall, when you applied for the lottery and you got your notice that you were eligible, your notice said, you know, here are the units that you applied for, and here's what you're eligible for. I think in most cases, everyone was eligible for the units that they applied for. That's not always the case, but my recollection looking through this database was that if someone applied for a studio, they were eligible for it. If someone applied for one bedroom, they were eligible. And I think people who applied for both were eligible for both. But again, you would know that from when you got your letter from us prior to the lottery. Okay, so here are the 4 different waiting lists. There's a studio waiting list that has no local preference attached. There are 4 units. There are 14 applicants. 4 of those applicants we know will be moving on to the next step. The other 10 we're not quite sure yet. Okay, and the 4 that we know will be moving on to the next step will be in green on the waiting list that I send to you tonight. The green being sort of like go, yes, moving on to the next step right away. There is a 1-bedroom local preference waiting list that has 11 units, 41 applicants, 10 of whom qualified for local preference. So those 10 local preference households will be the first 10 on that list. I don't know in exactly what order yet. We have to figure that out through the lottery drawing, followed by households who didn't qualify for local preference. There is also a 1-bedroom list that does not have any local preference attached. That has 6 units, 41 applicants. All households are on both lists. Let me repeat, all households who applied for 1-bedroom units will be on both 1-bedroom lists. They'll probably have different positions on those lists. Obviously, a household can't move forward from both lists, so they just will kind of probably move forward from whichever list they have a higher position on. The leasing office will invite from the local preference list first when filling units. And finally, there is one 1-bedroom unit that has accessible features for persons with mobility impairments. There's 1 of those units and 1 applicant who qualified, so that applicant will be moving forward or be given the opportunity to move forward on that unit. Okay, please remember, everyone who is in the lottery has been preliminarily screened for program eligibility by SEB Housing. What that means is that we, SEB Housing, looking at your program application, have taken on face value what you've put and said, okay, according to what you put in your application, you appear to be eligible for this opportunity. We have not done any lease screening. Lease screening typically includes elements such as, do you make enough to support the rent? Do you have, what's your tenant history look like? Have you been evicted? Do you have outstanding payments to past landlords? Things like that. Credit is usually a part of that. There may be a background screening to see if there's been any criminal background that could disqualify you, etc. SEB is not a management company. We're not a leasing office. We haven't done any of that screening, okay? So please make sure to keep this distinction in mind. You've been preliminarily program approved by SEB. We haven't made any determinations about whether you're lease eligible. So the next step in this process after the lottery is for top households from the waiting list are going to get to apply for leases with the leasing office. Totally separate entity from SEB Housing. In the materials that we share with you tonight, we will give you the leasing office's contact. And we will also give your contact information to the leasing office so that you can get together, they can invite you to apply, and you can move forward in the next step with them, which will be to apply for a lease. They'll show you the available units, and you can pick from the available units. If you are eligible for a lease, you'll be able to reserve a unit, and then you will move on to the last and final step in this process, which is to come back to SEB and to submit all of the income and asset and tax documentation that you didn't have to submit to get into the lottery. But if you recall, when we sent you your lottery application number, we sent you a document requirements guide that started to prep you for some of the things that will ultimately be required if you get to move forward. So hopefully you've begun to assemble some of those things so that if you are one of those lucky households, you've got that file just about ready, and that way gathering all of that documentation doesn't become a big effort at the last minute, because there is a time constraint. After you've reserved a unit, you'll have about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks to get all of that documentation into us to demonstrate your eligibility. If you don't do that, you could lose your reservation, which would really stink. So hopefully you've begun to gather that documentation, you have it ready, and then if and when you're invited to complete the final step with SEB, you've got it, and it'll be relatively easy, we hope. So before I go forward with the lottery drawing, let me just ask, Is there anyone watching who does not know their lottery application number? Okay, that's the one that's A dot blank blank blank. If you do know it, you don't need to tell me. I don't want to know it. It's better off it can be as anonymous as possible. But if there's anyone saying, geez, I totally forgot, I don't know which number I'm listening for, let me know. You can type your question. I'll just type something in the dialog box right here. So you can type a question there. You can let me know your name. I can look up your number for you. I'm going to do the drawing in a second here. Like I said, we'll do the local preference drawing first. And once we do that, we do the general drawing. Every number gets put in this lottery box, which I kind of have under my desk. I will pull the numbers out and I will hold them up to the screen as I go. I anticipate this will take, maybe 15 minutes or so to pull all the numbers. And then please bear with me. I'm just one person. I have to kind of write them down as I go. So I'm trying to show it to you and keep note of it as I go so that I keep everything organized. And then after we're done, I will hold on for a second if anyone has any questions. Okay, so without further ado, we'll start with the local preference drawing. I've got my 10 numbers here. I'll put them in the box. They're already shuffled up some, but let me give them a little bit more of a shuffle. Okay. First number is A.040. Next number is A.033. Next number is A.020. Next, A.029. Okay, the fifth number drawn is A.037. Followed by A.026. A.044. Okay, three left here. A.042. A.027. And the 10th and final number is A.003. A.003. All right, so that was the local preference drawing. Now we got to do the general drawing with every household who was in the lottery. So let me take those 10. I will add them in with the all the other households. Let me give them, I've already shuffled these up some, but let me just mix these in a little bit. I will then put them in the box, shake it up, and off we'll go. Just give me a moment here. Okay. Okay. First number in the general drawing is A.044. Next is A.017. A.034. A.040. A.029. A.024. A.014. A.020. A.002. A.027. A.042. A.008. A.028. A.019. A.004. A.032. A.037. A.036. A.045. A.016. A.010. That was the 21st number drawn, by the way. That was the 21st number drawn. Almost halfway through. A.031. A.031. A.026. A.026. A.035. A.035. A.041. A.041. A.007, A.007, A.001, A.001, A.013, A.013, A.023, A.023. Give me just one sec here, everyone. I'm just going to fix something on my screen. Okay. Next number is A.025, A.025, A.009, A.038, shake these up again. A.005. That was the 33rd household picked. A.043. A.018. A.015. A.011. A.021. Okay, coming into the home stretch here, A.006. A.003. A.012. A.033. A.022. A.039. And last but not least is A.030. A.030. All right. Well, that was the drawing. If anyone has any questions, I'll hang out for a second. But otherwise, you can plan on hearing from me within the next couple of hours. I will send around. Oops. move the camera by accident. Sorry about that. You can expect to hear from me in the next few hours, and I will send you the waiting list. The waiting list will be ordered top to bottom in order of priority that households will get to move forward. I'll also send around some instructions and some information about the lottery just to kind of reinforce what we talked about tonight and to give you a good sense of what to expect going forward. Of course, if you have questions, you know where to find us. You can reach out. But your main next point of contact is going to be the leasing office, because they're going to be the ones where you will, who you'll connect with to apply for a lease and to go look at units and to select the units of your choice. So, you know, congrats on getting this far. The process isn't over yet, but certainly getting into the lottery is a great and important first step. And I hope that it works out for people and that you're able to, you know, select a unit and be happy living there. Thanks for that note, Thomas. I appreciate it. And, you know, good luck to you and everyone else. And I'll hang out here just a second to see if there are any questions. All right. Doesn't look like it. So thanks for tuning in. And I hope everyone has a great night. Goodbye.